We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU sports play-by-play. I'm Jason Shepard in Provo. As you can see, Spencer Linton is at Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. And joining us somewhere from Hilton Coliseum is the voice of the Iowa State Cyclones. He is John Walters, and he joins us now on BYU Sports Nation. John, thanks for taking a few minutes. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Great to have Spencer here. It's a beautiful day. It should be a great weekend for football.
What does this game mean for Iowa State's season, John? I mean, what does a win or loss mean for the Cyclones?
Well, if you have any realistic chance of getting to the conference championship game and getting back there after going a year ago, you have to win this game, and really Iowa State has to win out. So those are the stakes. But I think at this point, after having lost two in a row, it's more important for these guys just to reclaim their identity and get back to playing the way that they need to play, which is not beating themselves with a bunch of drop passes and penalties, things that have really plagued them in the last two games, and things that are so uncharacteristic for a Matt Campbell coach team. So I think more than the win or the loss in this game, they want to measure themselves on how they play and can they get back to playing the kind of football that has brought so much success to Iowa State under Matt Campbell. And if they can look themselves in the mirror after the game and say they did that, especially after a win, it would be great. But win or lose, to play the way they're capable of playing, I think is what they're looking for.
John, no question, we've become accustomed to Iowa State just being so tough and sound and disciplined. So couldn't agree more that this is an opportunity for the Cyclones to do that. Can't help but think that some major injuries have also factored into why they have struggled over the last couple of games. So in your perspective and opinion, how much of the last two games and those two losses have been put on injuries compared to just some uncharacteristic mistakes that Iowa State has made?
Well, Matt would never use it as an excuse, but there's no question that it had an impact. I mean, you look at the Colorado game alone, Iowa State got beat over the top on a long touchdown pass by Salter. That probably doesn't happen if you have your two all Big 12 corners in there, but it's young guys. They're going to make mistakes, and that's part of the growing process. They're good football players, but they just have to make those mistakes and learn from them. Unfortunately, you make the mistake in a game where it's part of why you lost the game. Basically, Iowa State had three preseason all Big 12 players in Dominique Orange and the two cornerbacks, John Tez Williams and Jeremiah Cooper. Well, the two cornerbacks are out for the season with knee injuries, and Dominique Orange only played about 12 snaps in that Colorado game, and he's listed now as questionable for the game this weekend, but he's a big piece of the puzzle. But that's your three guys that were preseason all Big 12, and for the most part, they weren't available to you a week ago. So it is part of it. Iowa State went through it last year, though. They had a million linebacker injuries, and they still managed to win a school record 11 games. So you can overcome it. And one of the great things, guys, about the way Matt Campbell's built the program is he plays a lot of young guys anyway. He plays a lot of players, period. Iowa State will play probably 65, 70 players in Saturday's game. And those guys are going to get that experience in pressure moments. It's not just mop-up duty when those guys go out and play. So when their number does get called because of an injury, typically they're ready to step in and play a bigger role. And so it's not the only reason he does that. He wants to keep a lot of guys involved. He wants that whole sideline feeling like they're part of what's going on the field. But it is a nice, tangible part that comes out of that is that typically guys are pretty ready to go in there. It doesn't mean you're going to be as good as an all-conference player, but you can be good enough to win if you've had some positive experiences already. And Matt's really good at getting those experiences for his players.
Well, using the word positive, John, on the positive side of the injury front, it does appear that Iowa State could be getting some guys back for this game against BYU on Saturday. What are you hearing on that front? And of those players that could be coming back, who do you expect to make the biggest impact?
Well, Orange, for sure, if he can play, will be critically important because of the way BYU plays. And because you have a straight up the middle rushing attack, and that's right where he is. He's probably the most important piece. But Carson Hansen is a terrific running back, and Abu Sama's been playing well in his absence. But Iowa State's better when they have both those guys available and a 1-2 punch at that running back position. And then really the one that's altered everything is losing kicker Kyle Conradi, and he's expected to come back and kick this week, and that will make a huge difference, not just for those 3 points that you get on the board, but just the mentality of how you approach drives and back to what you're used to. First, second, third down, they are what they are. You're not thinking we're going to be going for it on fourth down pretty much every time. You get back to kind of the method and the ideology that you had to begin with to start the season. And Kyle's a very dependable kicker, as is Farron for BYU. So getting a guy like that back is critical. Last week, Iowa State had a 6'8", 310-pound tackle out there for a kickoff. He could kick extra points or field goals too if he has to. But I told Mark Johnson, the announcer from Colorado, if you see Carson Rhodes come in, you're going to say, oh, they're bringing in an extra tackle and they're going for it. No, he's the kicker and they're kicking the field goal. He's the backup still. So we'll see. He might even be involved tomorrow if he's out there on kickoffs or something. But it's been crazy, but the injuries have tended to pile up at specific positions, both last year and this year. You can sustain some injuries, but when they all happen at the same position, it's when it really proves costly.
John Walters is the voice of Iowa State football. He's on BYU Sports Nation. I'm standing in front of Jack Trice Stadium where Rocco Becht, in his own right, John, has put together some legendary performances. I know that in Rocco's mind, he hasn't played as well as he might have hoped this season. But from your standpoint, how would you assess what he is doing at quarterback, given the recent struggles for Iowa State?
I think he's been terrific. He's had a great season. He's just puts too much on his own shoulders. And I think for him, more than any other guy on this team, this bye and the mental break, and honestly, the 2 losses maybe take a little bit of pressure off your shoulders in a way, even though we talked about this being a must-win game for Iowa State. I think you look at yourself after 2 losses and you're self-reflective, and Rocco wasn't perfect, but he had some passes dropped that should have been caught. It wasn't all on him by any stretch of the imagination, but he's really having a good year. But I think he internalizes everything. And for him, I think it's important to just go out there and play the game you love, cut it loose. Matt Campbell and the offensive coordinator Taylor Mauser both told me this week they want him to cut it loose. They want him to play a little bit gunslinger style and just go out and play and do the things that come to him naturally, because he does carry a lot of responsibility. He's a captain. He puts it all on his shoulders. And I think when things aren't going as well, you tend to internalize a lot of that. And for him, it's got to be a matter of just getting back to doing. Everybody trusts you on this team. Everybody loves you on this team. They've seen you lead 7 comeback victories in the fourth quarter of games. They know what you can do. You don't have to prove anything to anybody on this campus. And so just go out and play the game you love and play it the way you love playing it, and everything will work out.
John, a moment ago, you had mentioned the importance for the Iowa State defense to limit BYU's rushing attack, specifically their ability to run up the middle. So maybe that's the answer. But is there a matchup or matchups that you believe will be key in determining the outcome?
Well, I think on the whole, the global look at trying to slow down BYU's rush game. They're averaging 230 rushing yards a game. You're not going to probably hold them under 100, but can you hold them to 150, and force Bachmeier to beat you through the air? Not that he can't throw it well, because he certainly can. I've been so impressed with what he's doing as a true freshman. Dan McCarney, who was at Florida when they won the national championship with Tim Tebow, is on campus today. In fact, right before I talked to you guys, I was over visiting with Coach Mack. Tim Tebow played the game a lot the way Bachmeier plays it. It's very impressive. That big physical guy that you have to slow down his run attack first and force him to beat you throwing it. Even though you know he can throw it, you got to kind of pick your poison. And so I think for Iowa State, slowing down that run game of BYU is so critical, because if it's always a situation where they can run it anytime they want, they're in 2nd and 1, they're in 3rd and 1, it becomes a lot easier to throw than if it's 3rd and 8 and you're putting a little pressure. Great crowd. There'll be 61,500. He's a tremendous player, but he's still a freshman. So put him in some moments where maybe there's things that he hasn't seen before, but you can't really do that if it's 3rd and 1. You can maybe do that if it's 3rd and 9.
John, I can't help but expect, as you mentioned, this crowd to be something that Bear Bachmeier has not seen. And it's homecoming weekend on top of it all in Ames. So how would you explain what the atmosphere is like on a game day during homecoming weekend?
Oh, it's special. It's a great place to play. BYU and Iowa State have the two biggest stadiums in the Big 12. 61,500 sold out for the fourth straight game tomorrow. That's going to be awesome. It's a crowd that really gets into the game. They're knowledgeable. They understand the game, and it will be a tremendous environment. And I think, obviously, coming off a BYU-Utah game where the crowd, even though it was a BYU crowd, was certainly intense and on edge the whole time. That's kind of what it'll be like, because I anticipate a very close game. Both these teams have been involved in a lot of close games. Iowa State had won 9 of 10 one-possession games before losing the last 2, which is, again, a testament to Rocco Becht and how good he is under pressure. And obviously, BYU has been winning close games, and that's the reason they're 7-0. And so I anticipate another really close one tomorrow. I think the crowd will be really into it. It'll get at its loudest, of course, on 3rd down and long or 3rd and whatever. But it's a fun environment. It's a great environment. It's going to be a beautiful day. And I think it's going to be a tremendous showcase, not just for these two universities, but for the Big 12 Conference, to be on Fox in the spotlight with Jason Benetti and Robert Griffin on the call and all the positive things that are going to be going on. Really going to be a great showcase for the Big 12 Conference and these two institutions.
Well, if you're looking for even more John Walters, we got you covered tomorrow. John's going to join Hans Olsen and myself on Cougar Pregame Live on BYU Radio. So you'll get even more insight from John coming up tomorrow. John, thank you so much for taking a few minutes and joining us. Appreciate the insight, and should be a fun one. Have a great call tomorrow.
Thanks so much for having me, and I appreciate it.
There we go. That is the voice of the Iowa State Cyclones, John Walters.